In terms of layering and in a way improvisation, I'm always fascinated, when you listen on the radio, if you listen to Radio Canada and Prime Minister is giving
Oh, yeah.
a speech, and at the same time you have the person talking on top of him in French, on top of the English, so that he's basically, the interpreter is kind of making it up, but following, but as much as he can, not always so much. And you can compare the two, and it's really disturbing to listen to the two people talking at the same time. But there's something that is really, I don't know, it might be only me, but I find it totally captivating. I can listen to that for hours, like people talking in French on top of people talking English and translating at the same time.
They do it the other way around.
Yeah, and to watch how accurate it was. Non, c'est pas ça qu'il dit. Ah oui, c'est ça. Oui, c'est ça qu'il dit.
Mais c'est rattrapé.
Oh oui, non,
Yeah.
oui, ok, non, c'est ça. Oups, il a pris du retard, Ah, non, ok, c'est. And you can constantly check on the pace also, because they have to kind of follow. That's quite a job.
Well, if we did a rondo form and you kept repeating something, if there was
And that
a
could be,
story,
yeah.
and then a bit of like a verse where it would just be you talking, and then the second time that you go back to the refrain, one of us does a simultaneous translation on top of you, and then you do another verse, and then another one, and another person does the simultaneous translation, which is different.
Yeah.
That might be, or
People
another
will do it
person
with
is
their
added,
music.
so that
Yeah.
suddenly there are three people speaking.
Well, it actually is, has happened the very first time I ever gave a public presentation at an international conference. All the material, this was in Washington, all the material had been sent to me in English, all the communication had been in English, everything. I show up at the conference, they had simultaneous translators for Spanish, Spanish-English, because there were a number of participants from South America. When I got up to speak, I start my presentation and I experienced looking out at a sea of people who look confused and start ripping the things off of their ears. What they had done was they'd arranged for a French translator because they made this assumption that I would be presenting in French. And so what happened was the translator got confused because I get up and I start to speak in English, so he starts to translate into French.
That is really funny.
So it was one of it was one of those where it's kind of like maybe we should start over, because I had no idea. I realized that there was a problem, but I just couldn't. It took me a few minutes to figure. Well, minutes. It felt like minutes to figure out what's going on here. So that would be, to me, that would be cool, because that was I remember that memory very, very. But that would be interesting.
Ça serait une idée intéressante.
How many people
I
were
like
doing
that.
it? It sounded good.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I
That
think
sounds great.
it could be an interesting thing to make
Ça
a
pourrait
form
être
out
des
of
choses
that.
intéressantes si on faisait
Yeah.
ça dans le
Orchestrate.
format, là, ça.
Qu'est-ce que c'est ça?
I love it. And I think that would be great.
Puis je pense que ça serait vraiment
C'était
formidable.
You're hired! Why do you with me all the time?
Just like the little Greek chorus of simultaneous.
But they can only hear the person in front of them.
I think that's awesome.
No, but no, also I like the way how they have to speak really soft when they translate, so that they keep listening. And also, donc dire toujours la petite voix comme ça, c'est toujours un petit peu endormi parce que ils ont l'air comme ça, puis les gens, oui, donc oui. Alors définitivement, le Canada va vouloir dans un échange avec les,
Yeah, awesome.
A dream coming true.
Actually, you could translate her speaking about her project into Le Canada va définitivement.
There would be
blah,
some-
blah.
Or I can fake doing this.
But I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's a bit.
That's a
That's
bit
overdone.
my concern with that is there might be someone there who
Yeah.
Yeah,
sign
yeah.
language.
And actually, some of what you're saying is rude.
Yeah.
Actually.
Like it. That means it tastes good.
Yeah. It's boy, it's girl, and then you have mother-in-law. That's the derogatory for mother-in-law, but there's, I used to do sign language, but anyway. whatever. So yeah.
So you can do it yourself?
No,
No.
not anymore. I did learned poetic sign language.
Okay, so that's this movement.
Then we have a last movement.
Then we have a last movement, which is, you said it's an improv, but probably it's an improv informed by everything that went on before, or it could be a pure bird, because we haven't talked about the birds yet.
Yeah.
Could be a pure bird conversation. But it needs to be something that's not just a bird conversation, because that's, musicians have been doing that for centuries. There needs to be an extra twist to make it something that reflects your process.
What were
So-
the things that, we did some exercises, didn't we?
Yeah.
With the birds?
Yeah, we did. I don't remember.
What
Well,
were
the
the-
imitating.
The imitation.
chain.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
Wasn't it in the
Yeah.
imitation game?
But was that for Angélique?
Yeah. The imitation
Yeah.
games were originally supposed to be based on Angélique,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
There was,
everyone
there was
said
the repertoire one.
Yeah.
Where we were sort of playing, improvising using sort of little bits of our language.
Yeah, that was in the very first rehearsal, I think.
Oh, was it for, or even for David?
David.
I'm so confused.
So that didn't have to do with the birds. I thought it had to do with the birds because we were talking about the experience you had with these guys who
With the
came
two
in and
old
talked
men.
in bird.
Yeah.
And I had the question, but what if those birds, like they were talking in bird, but maybe those birds wouldn't, like birds don't talk like crows don't talk to sparrows.
Well, there's
You know
some
what I
really
mean?
progressive ones.
Oh, are there? Okay, it's a new wave thing.
Yeah.
2018.
I know.
No, they do simultaneous translation.
Oh, okay.
There's one bird talking, the other one translating.
Okay.
There were a couple of call and response things based on bird discussion that was done the first rehearsal when Deborah was here.
Okay.
Mhm.
Was that where we're supposed to listen to just one person? No, that was with Angela.
It started out with a game. And then there's just what rocks would sound like, and then it was like a call and response game made up of shorter pieces joined together. I don't think this is the one with stories, though, because I'm pretty sure we sat down and something.
You know what would be interesting from a musical standpoint, and now not reflecting precisely on what this reflects in your work, but if the last movement were to be a relatively fast movement but improvised, because it's something we do rarely. You know, all improvisations tend to at some point go into contemplation mode. But to sustain something that's constantly going fast and quickly, that comes out of your speaking. So this was your movement 3 is your speaking, and you're speaking at a certain speed, and that speed gets picked up by the musicians and then but maintained.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything can come back. The glaciers can come back. The calls can come back. The birds can come. But the only requisite is that it is always consistently fast. It never stops. And speaking tempo.
In 3/4. You speak in 3/4 and 4/4.
Depende
9/8. That's
do topic.
Moi, je pense que je peux réussir à parler assez bien en effet, sans trop d'effort. C'est assez naturel. Dans le fond, c'est un mouvement qui me va assez bien. Mais c'est sûr que quand tu tombes en sexte lait, ça devient plus difficile un peu, mais ça arrive quand même.
That's a bit tougher, but
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Parce que si tu pars toujours comme ça,
Je sais pas, c'est-
ça peut être que
Non, mais
ça-
c'est sûr, c'est ça, mais-
pour moi,
C'est quand tu fais des rythmes pointés que là, ça devient un petit peu plus difficile.
Mais ça dépasse ce que tu as à dire, tant que tu fais
So,
That's Volatio Imperfecta. Medieval music.
I think it could start fast, but such beautiful things happen when you don't. I think, I don't know.
No,
I think
but
like
we
it's
have
fast
that.
the whole time. I
No,
don't-
but we have that in the Glacier movement, we have that
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
David's piece, we have that probably in Angelique's piece too. So I was just wondering if taking this energy, this high energy from the beginning, and then we have the Glacier movement, and we have this comparatively different kind of energy that language can confer to a situation, this different kind of thing. And at the end of this, take that energy from the speaking voice, and extend it into a musical piece. We'd have to construct why that's why that is something that you sort of the only thought that I had was that it is one of your little gaps that you leave. You leave gaps in the in many pieces. You leave gaps to see something else, and so that we just are drawn into one of the gaps. So we take one of your words, and it becomes the defining characteristic, or one of your sentences that becomes the defining characteristic.
How long
and
should this movement be in?
I don't know. We'll try that out.
Yeah, I think it's something maybe that would be worth practicing.
Yeah.
I would say shorter. Why not 5 minutes or something?
Yeah.
what if you conduct it? Not conduct, what do we do, but the duration or the change of, in the tempo?
Yeah.
Energy.
Yeah.
How about 7 minutes? 'Cause I think 5 minutes would feel, I think that's an easy time to fill. I think there might be something interesting in trying to, in making it just a little bit longer than comfortable. But maybe that's my
But I agree with you.
deformation
Yeah.
of wanting to be in discomfort all the time.
But I think that the idea of the fast thing, it's not necessarily that all of us individually are fast for 7 minutes. It's the idea that we never lose the feeling of fast, because like fast ideas feel good when they're supported also, and like there
Yeah,
is, I don't know what
exactly.
I think you do, but I don't know.
No,
It's- yeah.
that's
It's
what
just
I
that
meant.
we're
But
picking
that-
up.
That somebody
Yeah,
always
yeah,
needs
yeah.
to be in
Yeah.
the fast mode.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
One of them, and
High energy.
high energy. Yeah.
I like.
I like 6/8 actually. I think 6/8 is a good tempo because it's not a kind of system in which I hear a lot of improvisation. Most improvisation, if it is measured, it's in 4/4, and if it's not measured, it's not in anything. But 6/8 is such an
It's a
old.
shame. It's a great last movement.
Yes, but it's not. I since the 17th century, I don't think people have improvised in 6/8. No.
When you were conducting, or I did triplets with you.
Yeah.
No?
It's a very confident statement. I don't think anyone's improvised in
No one.
Not a one. Since
I can't say that, but it's not the common. It's not the go-to. It's not the go-to bar.
Prove me wrong
Yes.
right now. Prove me wrong.
And if you know, when they in the 50s when they started to experiment with odd meters,
Yeah.
in improvisation, that was a huge breakthrough. But even triple tempo is not something that's very common in jazz improvisation. It's not. Like, you can have triple meter or quadruple meter. That's all the same. It's not that. It's usually it's in 4, or in 12, which is also in 4. Or something like that, but it's not in 6, and it's not in 7, and it's not in 5.
9/8.
9/8 is 9 is But with free improv, it's even less common to be that, to have that speed.